I worked nights for the Department of Transportation for 8 years before I learned that some cameras are not meant to be repaired. Most people think highway monitoring is simple. They imagine a quiet room full of screens, a few employees drinking bad coffee, and rows of traffic feeds from roads nobody pays attention to unless something goes wrong. That part is true. But what they do not understand is how lonely roads become after midnight. On a monitor, a highway at night does not feel like a place people drive through. It feels like a place waiting for something to happen. Our monitoring center sat 40 miles from the nearest town, behind a chain-link fence and 2 automatic gates. The building was low, concrete, and windowless except for the front office. It had been built in the late 80s, back when the state started expanding its remote traffic camera network. Inside, the main room was always cold. One wall held 84 live camera feeds. Smaller monitors sat at each technician station. Beneath the screens were radios, incident logs, outage dashboards, fiber line diagnostics, and maintenance schedules for every camera tower across 3 counties. Most nights were routine. Disabled vehicle on mile marker 112. Deer strike near the eastbound shoulder. Fog advisory. Overheated truck. Black ice warning. A normal night was paperwork with headlights. Then I got assigned to Sector C. The warning came during shift handover. Morales, one of our senior technicians, had already put on his jacket when he stopped beside my desk. "You're watching C tonight?" "Yeah," I said. "Why?" He looked at the monitor wall. "Camera 32 is active again." I waited for him to explain. He didn't. "Transmission issue?" I asked. "No." "Power fluctuation?" "No." "Then what?" Morales lowered his voice. "Just follow the sheet." "What sheet?" He stared at me long enough that I thought he was joking. Then he opened the bottom drawer of my station and pulled out a laminated page. It was old. The plastic had yellowed at the edges. The text looked like it had been typed on a typewriter and photocopied too many times. At the top, someone had written, "Camera 32 procedure." There were 8 rules. 1. Do not save footage from camera 32. 2. Do not compare footage from camera 32 to future incident reports. 3. Do not watch more than 24 hours ahead. 4. If camera 32 loses signal, do not reconnect it before sunrise. 5. If any other camera displays Highway 18 Sector C, notify a supervisor and leave the room. 6. Do not describe what you see on camera 32 over the radio. 7. If the timestamp moves backward, turn off your monitor. 8. If camera 32 shows the monitoring center, do not remain inside the building. I read the list twice, then I laughed. Morales didn't. "What is this?" I asked. "Procedure." "Official?" "As official as it needs to be," he said. "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're going to get tonight." He walked toward the exit, then paused. "One more thing." I looked at him. "Don't treat it like a broken camera." The door shut behind him. For the first hour, nothing happened. Sector C covered a remote stretch of Highway 18 that ran through dense state forest. No exits, no gas stations, no rest areas, no houses, just 4 lanes of asphalt cutting through miles of black trees. Camera 32 sat on a utility pole near mile marker 88. Its feed looked normal. Eastbound lanes, westbound lanes, guardrail, tree line. A reflective sign half covered by pine branches. Then, at 12:17 a.m., a system alert appeared. Camera 32, timestamp desynchronization detected. I opened the diagnostic panel. The network clock was correct. The server clock was correct. Every other camera was synchronized. Only camera 32 showed the wrong date. It was displaying tomorrow, not 10 seconds ahead, not a corrupted hour, tomorrow. Same time, same road, 1 day later. I watched the feed for several minutes. Nothing happened except wind moving through the trees. Then a white box truck appeared. It entered from the left side of the frame, drifted slightly toward the shoulder, corrected, and continued out of view. Ordinary. Except as it passed beneath the camera, I saw someone standing near the guardrail. Just for a second. A tall, thin figure, too far back to identify. It stood halfway inside the trees facing the road. Then the truck blocked it. When the truck passed, the figure was gone. I leaned toward the screen. I rewound instinctively, then stopped myself. No saving, no reviewing, no comparing. I wrote only one line in the maintenance log. C3 2 timestamp error persists. The next night, the white box truck appeared again. Same time, same lane, same slight drift, same correction. As it passed the guardrail, I watched the tree line carefully. The figure was there. Only this time I was certain it was facing the camera. Not the road, the camera. My mouth went dry. The figure vanished when the truck passed, exactly as it had in the footage from the night before. I did not report it. That was my first mistake. My second mistake came 3 nights later. Camera 32 showed a deer crossing the highway. It stepped out from the trees, stopped in the median, looked toward the camera, and crossed the westbound lanes. A normal wildlife crossing. But before it left the frame, the deer turned its head sharply toward the forest. Something behind the guardrail moved, not the figure this time. Something lower, something that shifted between the tree trunks in a way the camera could not fully capture. The next night, the deer crossing happened. Same animal, same pause, same head turn. But whatever moved in the trees did not appear. I checked camera 31 and camera 33. Neither showed anything unusual. Only camera 32 saw the road that way. After that, the anomalies became harder to ignore. A traffic cone appeared in the middle of the eastbound lane on camera 32. The next night, a cone was found there, though no crew had placed it. A patch of fog appeared only inside camera 32's view. The next night, dense fog formed over that exact mile marker while the rest of Highway 18 stayed clear. A state patrol cruiser appeared on the shoulder with its lights flashing. The next night, dispatch sent a cruiser there for a disabled vehicle. The vehicle never appeared on camera, but the cruiser did. Small things, believable things. That was what made it worse. The camera did not begin with impossible horror. It began with paperwork. It began with details that could be explained away if you wanted to keep your job and your sleep. Then, one Monday night, camera 32 showed an accident. A gray sedan entered the frame too fast. Behind it was a black SUV. No visible plates, no headlights. The SUV followed close enough to touch the sedan's bumper. The sedan swerved, crossed the median, rolled twice, then disappeared below the embankment. The SUV continued straight and left the frame. I stared at the screen until my eyes hurt. The timestamp said tomorrow. I should have called someone. But Rule 2 sat beside my keyboard. Do not compare footage from camera 32 to future incident reports. The next night, the gray sedan crashed. Same time, same location, same rollover. But there was no black SUV, not on camera 32, not on camera 31, not in the police report. The driver survived. The official cause was listed as fatigue. I printed nothing, saved nothing, reported nothing. But I started reading old logs. Most camera 32 records were redacted or missing. Maintenance tickets had been closed without notes. Inspection reports ended mid-sentence. Several employee names appeared only once, then never again. One entry was buried in an archived folder from 2006. Technician observed event 48 hours prior to occurrence. Supervisor advised compliance with Rule 3. Follow-up removed. Another from 1998. Secondary camera displayed Sector C for 9 seconds. Room evacuated, no injuries reported. Another from 2014. Employee described camera 32 content over radio. Field unit failed to locate employee after dispatch. Transmission record sealed. I stopped reading after that. For almost 2 weeks, I tried not to look at camera 32 unless an alert appeared. That sounds easy. It wasn't. A screen showing tomorrow becomes a kind of addiction. You tell yourself you are only checking for safety. You tell yourself you are preventing accidents. You tell yourself information cannot hurt you, but the road starts to feel personal. Every headlight becomes a warning. Every empty frame becomes a question. And every time nothing happens, you feel cheated instead of relieved. That was when camera 32 changed its behavior. At 1:44 a.m., the timestamp flickered. For half a second, It did not show tomorrow. It showed yesterday. My hand froze above the mouse. Rule 7. If the timestamp moves backward, turn off your monitor. Before I could react, the feed stabilized. The date returned to tomorrow. But the road was different. There were no lane markings, no reflective signs, no guardrail, just a dirt road cutting through dark trees. The camera angle was identical, but Highway 18 had vanished. In its place was an older road, narrower, unpaved, wrong. A single set of headlights appeared in the distance. They moved slowly toward the camera. As the vehicle approached, I realized it was not modern. An old maintenance truck, maybe from the 70s, rounded hood, faded state markings, amber roof light. It stopped beneath the camera. The driver's door opened. No one stepped out. Then the tall figure appeared from the trees. It stood beside the open door. Its body was too thin in the shoulders and too long in the arms. Not dramatically, not like a monster in a movie. Just wrong enough that my mind kept trying to correct it. The figure bent toward the empty cab. The screen went black. I shut off my monitor so hard the button cracked. For 10 minutes, I sat in the dark reflection of the dead screen, listening to the hum of the server racks. I did not turn it back on until sunrise. Morales found me in the break room. "You saw Old Road?" he said. It wasn't a question. I looked at him. "What is it?" He poured coffee and did not drink it. Before Highway 18, there was a service road through that corridor, used for survey crews, utility crews, logging access. It was abandoned when the highway was built. That figure was there. He nodded once. "You've seen it too. Everyone who stays long enough sees it." "What is it?" Morales finally looked at me. "That question is why people stop working here." He left the break room without another word. By then, I should have requested a transfer. Instead, I stayed. Part of it was pride. Part of it was fear. Mostly, it was the feeling that Camera 32 had already noticed me, and leaving would not make a difference. The next major incident happened during a storm. Rain moved across the county in hard diagonal sheets. Camera feeds blurred into silver noise. Incident calls stacked up faster than we could log them. Camera 32 remained clear. No rain, no spray, no droplets on the lens. Just dry pavement and black trees. At 2:03 a.m., Camera 31 failed. Then, Camera 33 failed. Then Camera 28. One by one, every camera near Sector C dropped offline, except Camera 32. A new feed appeared on the monitor wall. At first, I thought Camera 31 had come back. Then I saw the angle. It was Highway 18, Sector C, Camera 32's view. Displayed on Camera 41, then Camera 12, then Camera 7, then every screen in the room. Highway 18 filled the wall. 84 identical roads. Rule 5. If any other camera displays Highway 18 Sector C, notify a supervisor and leave the room. I grabbed the phone. Before I could dial, all 84 feeds changed. They no longer showed the highway. They showed the monitoring center, our room. From above, from the exact angle of a ceiling camera that did not exist. I saw my desk, my chair, my own back. I saw myself holding the phone. On the screen, behind me, something stood between the rows of workstations. Tall, thin, half-rendered by the camera. I did not turn around. The phone slipped from my hand. The figure on the monitor leaned closer to my chair. In the real room, I felt cold air touch the back of my neck. I left. I ran through the hallway, past the locked equipment cage, past the supervisor's office, past the break room with its buzzing vending machine. I did not stop until I was outside in the rain. From the parking lot, the building looked normal. Concrete walls, dark windows, antenna towers blinking red through the storm. Inside, every monitor was still glowing. I could see the light leaking under the door. Morales arrived 20 minutes later. He did not ask what happened. He only said, "You stayed too long." After that, management did what management always does. They filed an internal report with language that explained nothing. Temporary video routing failure, environmental interference, technician stress response, no equipment replacement authorized. Camera 32 remained active. A week later, I was assigned field inspection duty, Sector C, Camera 32. I refused at first. My supervisor looked tired. Refusal goes on your record. So does disappearing. He stared at me for a long time. Then he said very quietly, "Take Morales." That was how I learned the final part. Camera 32 was not hard to reach. A gravel access lane ran from a locked gate to the utility pole. The camera itself sat 30 feet up, mounted beside a microwave relay box and a solar backup unit. By daylight, it looked harmless. A gray metal housing, a weatherproof lens, fiber conduit running down the pole. Nothing mystical, nothing haunted, nothing that could explain why I had stopped sleeping. Morales checked the cabinet while I inspected the mount. The equipment was clean, no corrosion, no loose wiring, no water intrusion, no unauthorized hardware. Then I noticed something carved into the inside of the cabinet door. Not written, carved, small letters, scratched into the metal. "Don't let it see you watching." I showed Morales. He closed the cabinet. "We're done. We just got here." "We're done," he said. As we packed up, I looked toward the tree line. The forest behind the guardrail was thick with pine and undergrowth. No trail, no access road, no reason for anyone to enter. Still, between two trunks, I saw a dark vertical shape, not moving, not hiding, standing, watching. I raised my hand to shield my eyes from the afternoon glare. The shape was gone. That night, Camera 32 showed us inspecting it, me and Morales. 24 hours after we had already been there. The timestamp was tomorrow. But the footage showed yesterday. I watched myself open the cabinet. I watched Morales look toward the trees. Then I saw the figure standing behind us, close enough that its hand almost touched my shoulder. In the real memory, it had not been there. On the feed, it had. I turned off the monitor. For the first time, I understood the worst part. Camera 32 was not only showing the future, it was editing the past, or revealing parts of it we had failed to see. After that, I stopped trusting memory. I stopped trusting incident reports. I stopped trusting empty roads. 3 employees transferred within the next month. Morales retired without notice. His locker was cleaned out before I arrived for shift. No farewell email, no goodbye. Just an empty hook where his jacket used to hang. The laminated rule sheet remained in my drawer. Someone had added a 9th rule in black marker. 9. If you see yourself on camera 32, do not go where it shows you going. No initials, no date, just the rule. 2 nights later, I saw myself. Camera 32 showed a department maintenance truck parked on the shoulder of Highway 18. The driver's door was open. The amber light rotated silently. I recognized the truck number. Ours. I recognized the jacket. Mine. A man stood near the guardrail with his back to the camera. Me. Or something close enough. He climbed over the guardrail and entered the forest. The camera did something impossible then. It panned. Camera 32 was fixed position. It could tilt slightly for maintenance calibration, but it could not track movement into the woods. Yet the feed followed me between the trees. The forest inside the monitor did not look like the forest I had seen during inspection. It was darker, deeper. The trunks stood too evenly spaced like columns in a tunnel. Small lights glowed between them. White points, dozens of them, then hundreds. For one horrible second, I thought they were flashlights. Then I realized they were camera lenses, all pointed at me. The version of me in the feed stopped walking. The tall figure stood ahead of him. Not hidden this time, not half seen. It was still difficult to look at directly, as if the screen could not decide where its edges belonged. It raised one long arm and pointed, not at the man in the forest, at the camera, at me. The feed cut to black. I did not go to work the next night, or the night after that. On the 3rd day, my supervisor called. There had been an outage in Sector C. Camera 32 was offline. They needed a technician. I told him to send someone else. He said there was no one else available. Then he said something I still think about. "You're already listed on the dispatch." I checked the schedule. He was right. My name had been entered 3 days earlier. I had not entered it. My supervisor claimed he had not either. At 7:40 p.m., I drove to the monitoring center because I did not know what else to do. The parking lot was empty. Inside, the building lights were on, but no one was at the desks. Every monitor was black except one, camera 32. The feed was active again. The timestamp showed the current date. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, now. The highway was empty. Rain moved across the lens. On the shoulder sat our maintenance truck. Driver's door open, amber light turning. Beyond the guardrail, the trees were full of small white lights. The radio on my desk clicked. Static. Then my own voice came through. Not recorded, not delayed. My voice, speaking calmly. Do not describe what you see over the radio. I backed away from the desk. On the monitor, someone stepped out of the maintenance truck. He wore my jacket, my vest, my boots. But when he turned toward the camera, the face was blurred by static. The figure at the tree line raised its arm. The man on the screen raised his arm too. So did I. I did not mean to. My hand lifted on its own, slow and stiff, until I was pointing at the monitor, at the road, at myself. Then the timestamp changed. Tomorrow. The monitor showed the same room from above, my workstation, my chair, the screen glowing. But I was not sitting there. Someone else was, someone wearing my jacket, someone with my posture, someone who turned slowly toward the ceiling camera and smiled with a face the image refused to show. Behind him, every monitor displayed Highway 18. Every version of the road was empty, except one. On the far left of the wall, a camera feed showed me standing in the parking lot outside the building, looking in through a window that does not exist. I turned around. There was no window behind me, only the concrete wall of the monitoring center. When I looked back at the screen, the room was empty again. Camera 32 had returned to its usual view. Highway 18, Sector C, tomorrow. Nothing moving, nothing waiting, just road. I left before sunrise and have not returned. Officially, I am on unpaid leave pending review. Unofficially, my access badge still works. I know because last night, at 2:13 a.m., my phone received an automated maintenance alert. Camera 32, field inspection required. Assigned technician, me. The location was Highway 18, Sector C. The scheduled time was tomorrow night. There was one attachment, a still image from camera 32. It showed the monitoring center parking lot. My car was there. The driver's door was open. In the reflection of the windshield, dozens of tiny white lights were visible behind me. And at the bottom of the image, in the timestamp field, there was no date anymore. Only a single word, arrived.